On your mark, ready, set, let's go. Dance floor pro, I know, you know, I go psycho when my new joint hit. Just can't sit, gotta get jiggy with it. That's it, now honey, honey, come ride.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you and how overwhelmed I am at this tremendous outpouring of support for women in technology. This is the largest and most exuberant occasion I've had the opportunity to be part of, recognizing the growth of women's influence in science and technology, and I find that to be absolutely tremendous. Congratulations and thank you. So for my keynote today, what I'd like to do is really take sort of a personal view on what I've experienced in growing Aspera and look at it through the lens of women's leadership. I want to start my talk today with sort of framing this in the context of broader society right now, where we can see that in a way this is the age of the woman. I also want to talk about some of the perceptions of that and then move into our personal experience, what Aspera is, how we grew it, how it's functioning today, and some of the key principles that I've taken from that experience. And hopefully it's valuable to all of you, and also a congratulatory statement to all of you that are making such a difference in your own lives, companies, and goals. So I'm going to start with a video today in just a moment, which is taken from HBO's popular sitcom, Silicon Valley. Some of you may have seen it. And then I'm going to move into a brief history of Aspera.
Do users pay for all that bandwidth? Not you? Wow. That could save us a ton of money.
Yeah, shit ton.
And do you think you could integrate it into our platform by January in time for CES?
Look, I'm not going to get in your way. You design the engine, I just assemble the car. I can have an alpha that up in a solid weekend of hacking.
Wow. Cool.
Plus, I can count on one hand the number of people on Earth who can handle sitting in a room with Dinesh and Guilfoyle all day, so.
All of that? Plus you're a woman.
What?
No, I just mean we would absolutely love to have a strong woman working here.
I'm not a woman engineer. I'm an engineer.
Okay. No. Oh, no.
And we'll come back to that in a moment. I love that piece. So after we talk about that, I'm going to move into a bit of history about Aspera and describe that story, tell you how we grew the company and how we continue to grow it, and then tell you a little bit about myself and some of the factors that are hopefully helpful to you in thinking about your own life and some of those principles. So Carla, the character that we just saw out of HBO's sitcom, said, "I'm not a woman engineer, I'm an engineer." I think that pretty much sums up how most of us in this room feel. We have reached a point in time where women are not only doing everything, but we're leading in science and technology. Unfortunately, we're still also working in an environment where the focus is sometimes on the novelty of us being women rather than on what we're doing. And to really set the stage for how times have changed and where we're at, I'd like to call your attention to a few key individuals. The first and most important, in the probably top center for me, is Diane Greene. Diane Greene is the founder of VMware, and some of you probably know VMware. VMware is the company that made virtualization. Diane founded that company in 1998 along with her husband, and she grew it to be an incredible success, worth several billions of dollars, and it's now owned largely by EMC Corporation. Also, got the video showing? Yes, that's great. Okay. Also, I want to highlight Marissa Mayer, the CEO of Yahoo, who is believe about 40 years old now, and she is the youngest CEO of a major technology company ever, and of course a woman. She's known for her product design skills and innovation, and really made Google's product management what it is today. We have also our presidential race, where for the first time ever, we have 2 women candidates. They're both very strong candidates, and they're on opposite sides of the aisle. I think that in itself says everything we need to know about the place that women are serving in terms of leadership. And then also I wanted to highlight in the creative realm 2 of my favorite innovators in music and art, Taylor Swift, who's 26 or 27, and Madonna, who's 57. Both of whom, if you watch in a concert, hold the stage because of their talent, their creativity, their music. And for me, I try to keep just a little slice of them in my everyday life. My age, 42, falls halfway between the 2 of them. So, with that as the context in which we think about today's talk, I want to now tell you a little bit about Aspera, our company. So I am co-founder of Aspera. I started it in 2004 with Sherban Simu, who is now my husband, was not at the time, and created in that process a new technology. The technology's focus is on moving large data over internet networks. And it has a few fundamental properties. The most obvious is speed. The speed emanates from the design of the protocol and the way that it moves bits efficiently over IP networks. And it's very timely, and what's allowed for its growth has to do with really 3 factors. So if you look at this graph, you see that's a 3-dimensional graph, where we have bandwidth on the vertical axis, and we have network conditions on the horizontal and forward axes. And those 3 factors have grown together along with the size of data. Bandwidth goes up, network conditions have continued to become more and more varied, and data has exploded. Our technology creates efficiency where it did not exist before when those 3 dimensions come together. And the growth in large data movement has worked with those technology characteristics over the last decade. I'd like to turn to a video now about Aspera. I think the guys backstage have queued that up. Show you a little bit about the platform.
If you could suddenly move your data anywhere in the world 10 times, 100 times, even 1,000 times faster than you can today, how would it transform your business? At Aspera, we move the world's data at its maximum possible speed. Not just slightly faster than what you experience today, orders of magnitude faster, regardless of size, distance, or network conditions over your existing infrastructure. The dramatic boost in speed from Aspera technology is transforming businesses around the globe. From accelerating discovery and medical outcomes in life sciences, to greatly speeding and enhancing content delivery and entertainment, to enabling more cost-effective detection and tapping of new energy sources, to accelerating data accessibility over cloud deployments. Our solutions are enabling new business models and processes across many industries. How? Aspera provides an alternative that overcomes the limitations of the Transmission Control Protocol, TCP, commonly used for web browsing, FTP, and other file transfer services. TCP provides reliable data delivery under ideal conditions, but has severe bottlenecks due to the inherent packet loss and latency that occurs when transferring data across today's wide area networks. Aspera's innovative FASP technology reliably moves large files and datasets at maximum speed, even over long distances, by fully utilizing available bandwidth. In addition, Aspera's unique adaptive rate control delivers this high performance without impacting business-critical network services by equally sharing bandwidth to accommodate existing TCP traffic. Aspera FASP also securely encrypts data to protect it in flight and at rest. Plus, built on top of FASP is a complete set of ready-to-use applications and solutions for transfer, sharing, collaboration, and synchronization. All in all, Aspera offers a dramatically faster, better, more secure way to move your data. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, and we're ready to prove it to you. To see for yourself how Aspera can truly transform your business, visit us on the web or contact us to schedule a demonstration or evaluation.
So I think the relevance for this audience in this video is the way that innovation has driven our experience and my personal experience at Aspera. The hallmark of our company is solving fundamental problems to do with data movement and continuing to try to expand that as the world evolves around us. And I wanted to incorporate one slide from my presentation for the market, which is one about our innovation history. And you can see at the very beginning in 2004, we invented the protocol, FASP, and that literally was as a garage startup, and Siobhan and I are the original inventors, and that platform has grown and expanded in characteristics as data movement has matured to include file sharing and collaboration, distribution and management, integration into cloud storage platforms, and now fast stream technology for stream-based transport of live video and data. And that brings me to our world today, which is still marked by this innovation. We are very lucky in Aspera that this area of big data transfer continues to evolve, and in recent years, we've created direct-to-cloud transfer capability that integrates with all major cloud storages and CDNs, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Akamai's Net Storage, Limelight, Google Cloud, SoftLayer, of course, etc. And we've also expanded that to include stream-based data transfer and live video, which is powering sports events, live, now even consumer audience, multi-screen applications. And finally, this year, just to tell you a little bit about my life now, 1 week ago, we launched a new SaaS offering called Aspera Files at the IBC show in Amsterdam, where we earned a Best of Show award as a new product offering. So the point is, the innovation never stops. That is the drive, and that is also the equilibrator that makes this field not only open to women, but fantastic, I think, to women. So in the next 3 slides, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the history of Aspera, and I divided it into 3 phases. Our birth in the first 3 years, entering the chasm, and I'll be using Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm Analogies, great book if you're in technology, innovation, and marketing, and then wrapping up with an interlude, and then wrapping up with the present day. So let me talk for just a minute about our birth. FASP was literally a green slate invention that I started working on in April of 2003. And I recruited Siobhan Sumu, who was both a friend and a colleague of mine, and 6 years later became my husband, to help me with this effort. And over the course of about 5 months, we created a version of the FAST protocol that allowed us to move data with reliability over standard internet networks with speed and efficiency that hadn't existed before. Now, the backstory of this is, why did I want to do this? Well, 5 years prior of working in industry, I had been exposed to the challenges of content networking. That is, getting content to move over the internet. And in my jobs, because I enjoyed customers, even though I was a software developer, I was pushed to go on customer visits. I spent time watching election coverage in the early days of streaming with several companies that did digital streaming in what was then 2000. I also worked in 2 companies that tried to deal in application-level multicast, and I knew the problem. I had also been cornered by certain customers in digital media who said, we need a solution to this problem. And so in 2004, and starting really in 3 and moving into 4, for various reasons, personal, intellectual, right? Some of it just force of nature, I decided to work in this area and pursued an idea for the FAST protocol that became today's reliability algorithm. Siobhan helped me implement that over the course of the summer. We tested it in our own lab. And by the way, neither of us had jobs or steady income of any kind. My parents, Charles and Deanna, are here today, and they can attest to the questions that were raised at that time. In that fall, we were able to bootstrap the company, and we didn't even really have a company at that time because we got an opportunity to deploy the software in the defense sector. We had an in with a certain lab that tested it and said, we're going to take this into the intelligence base in Korea. They did it, they tested it, they liked it, they gave us a deadline to port it to a new operating system, which Siobhan and I did, at which time we also implemented in 3 days a file cache system that lives on in our software today, one of the toughest things we ever did. And that entity, Object Sciences Corp., now part of SAIC, was our first customer. They purchased the software with a $20,000 PO in February of 2004. That money was our bootstrap money to found our company and go to our first NAB, where we started showing our technology. And in that first year, we had our first 2 employees, and we also had our first 9 customers. So at that point in time, we were offering this as a very specific technology for companies that had managed network conditions over which they needed a fast and efficient transfer solution. That trend continued in these very focused areas, particularly digital media and government in those early years. King Kong is the first major motion picture made with our software, meaning that the file transfer from New Zealand at Weta Digital, now Peter Jackson's company, transferred back to California, was done with the FAST technology. And in that time were the first bits of customer feedback to go to the next level of innovation. I want to talk about this because during King Kong, during that show, the crew said to us, you know, Michelle, these transfers are very inefficient when we let the files transfer in loose form. As a zip, it's perfect at line speed. Well, we knew exactly why that was because of the way we had implemented the software, and that led us to design the second generation of the FAST protocol, which multiplexes the data on the channel and let us overcome that particular inefficiency. And my point, and this you'll hear this throughout the story of Aspera, was at every juncture, if we paid attention to what the customers were saying and experiencing, they would point us and what we needed to do next. Someone said that we're customer focused. Well, we're not customer focused just for the good of it. We're also customer focused because that teaches us where to innovate. And during this time, then 2007 to 2009, there was an event that happened in the market that changed everything for Aspera. How many of you use iTunes, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Go? Right? Most people in the room use one of those. The OTT revolution set in with the dawn of video in iTunes in 2006. iTunes started using our software, and a network of data transfer began that has been driven, YouTube also, been driven by the OTT revolution. And we also had a very important lesson at that point, which was the network effect could work to our advantage if we did a good job. And that guides us still today. The companies that need to exchange video in the supply chain that power OTT need a fast, reliable, always-on way to do this that allows them to ingest ever more content of ever higher resolution. That one fact caused our company to grow from being deployed at iTunes to their partners and all of these other companies along the way, and now used in telcos, cable companies, et cetera. Right? So it is true that almost all video content that you would experience today in an on-demand, an OTT, or streaming fashion is delivered with our software. The early days of that also caused our team to form. And at that time, we were just getting used to trying to manage ourselves. And I would say as we grew into about 50 people in this chasm, starting to cross chasm period, it became difficult to run, difficult to manage. Those were the first times anyone quit Aspera. That is a devastating thing to go through when you're a founder, and it also requires you to move through that adolescence. And I think one of the key takeaways for those of you building companies is that those moments of inflection points that are difficult are where you grow. You take a choice as to whether you go in or you back out. And we kept going in and trying to grow ourselves and our leadership to go to the next point. We changed a lot of things about our processes. We began to become systematic in how we built and tested our software, not only because of the product quality, which we always did fairly well on, but also because of people's sustainability, the way that engineers and people of rigor need to work. I want to stop here for just a moment and talk about the creative couple. Sherban and I are sometimes talked about because we're married. And I think for the women in the room, this might be one of the most important and provocative topics. So how do I feel when people ask me if my husband made the company? I call your attention to Madame Curie and her husband Pierre, who together won the Nobel Prize for discovery of radium. I included our first patent, bulk data transfer, which is the work of Sherban and Michelle. The two of us have made Aspera. Neither alone could do it. And that is true in any team. And I think for the women in the room, the number one takeaway from this point is to never be ashamed or to take credit away from a team-based contribution, because it is that complementarity that allows things that are larger than an individual to come to pass. So that brings me into the arriving point of Aspera, which was 2010 to 2013. As you heard, we were acquired by IBM in 2014. We worked very hard over these periods to follow the Crossing the Chasm methodology to diversify the markets that we were going into through adjacent markets. And we always looked for areas that had high pain relative to the problem we solved and would tolerate some deficiencies in the technology or product offering to get in. We expanded our software, as I mentioned, with a direct integration with cloud storage, which also created a horizontal drive for what we did. And our company grew and grew. And I would say the transition from 50 to 100 was easier than the transition from 0 to 50. Now, 100 to 200 brought other dynamics and, again, necessary maturing and leadership. In 2013 fall, I was about to say 2014, we won the Emmy Award for our technology. And I want to pause on this and say something to those of you in technology with all of the myriad of marketing and awards. There is such an award that matters intrinsically. And that, I think, is one that comes from the marketplace itself. And this is the only award Aspera has won that I am intrinsically proud of. We were selected for the Emmy by our customer base, and they had said that this technology transformed the way that digital media is moved. And the comment here was being able to transfer media with speed and integrity, using low-cost internet networks in place of physical media shipping via tapes and expensive dedicated satellite networks. That statement is why we made our technology, right? And I would say for founders out there thinking about what you're doing, if you can find that core principle that drives you and stick with that, it will bear out in the marketplace over time. So we were bought in 2014 by IBM. Just a small event. And for the last 18 months, we've been an IBM company. And that brings me to what I want to talk about next, which is goals, values, and culture. Aspera's goals are not smaller than they were before. I would say they're bigger. Our values are not less than they were before. They're more entrenched, I hope in a good way. The key was something like this, and I think this happens under IPO as well, is when you are faced with the larger world and all the pressures that come with that, knowing yourselves and doing your work for the intrinsic reasons is the guidepost. And at our company, we remain focused on solving fundamental problems of moving data. We still aspire to be the worldwide standard used. We care about service to the marketplace above all else, and we value doing it ourselves with independence and integrity. And doing this kind of thing for yourselves, where you can call out what you stand for and sticking with that, I think is the way you get through the superficie, the money, and the short-term thinking. So to wrap up here, I want to talk to you a little bit about myself and my life, so it hopefully can translate to your lives, particularly those of you who are students. I am 42 years old. I am married. I have a son who is 4.5 named Aiden. I live in Berkeley, California. I grew up in Kansas. I grew up on a farm. My mother's a retired professor. My dad is a 5th-generation Kansas farmer. I have a brother and an extended family that is deeply involved in the state of Kansas. And one thing I will say about my family is the core values: education, economic development, service to community, faith. Those 4 things. And all of those things permeate all careers, which is another guidepost I think stands for those women who want to go do new and different things. What I do has nothing to do with what my mom did or my dad did, but my parents and their values are intrinsic in everything I do today. I went to school at Chapman High School, a small rural high school with 400 students in Chapman, Kansas. I grew up in that community, and in addition to mathematics, science, independent study, and again, credit to a lot of teachers and parents, I was involved deeply in 4-H. 4-H is a tremendous youth organization. I am a national trustee on the 4-H board. I don't do that for many organizations, and because 4-H meant so much to my leadership background, it is, after education, the most important community endeavor in my life. I went to Kansas State University. I studied electrical engineering and physics. I started in chemical engineering and switched to EE because I liked math better than I liked chemistry. Now, that is not an easy thing to do in college, and I want to encourage the women who are in 4-year programs in engineering and hard sciences to be yourself, have confidence, and stick through. I was a very good student, but it was very hard, and it took everything I had to survive the culture of engineering at that time. I think it's getting better. I was the only woman to graduate in my physics class, and I believe I was one of 2 in my electrical engineering class. I then went to Cambridge as a graduate student in the UK on a Fulbright scholarship, and that represents an inflection point in my life. When I graduated, the internet was forming, and the internet not only amazed me, it changed my life. The first time I used the web, I thought this first of all is where I want to live, And secondly, this will change the world. And I decided to study computer science because I knew I needed to learn software in order to do anything that I was interested in terms of innovation around the web and the net. What I didn't realize at the time, it's very difficult to transition among these fields, physics, EE, and CS, when you're deep into them, especially at a graduate level. What I didn't realize at the time was that multidisciplinary approach was everything. The FAST technology combines all three. I want to emphasize that for the women in the room, because that interdisciplinary approach was everything to the invention of what we do, and it has made me better as a technologist. The other thing that I did during college, and I stand by today, is I took many courses in arts and sciences, particularly in literature and philosophy, and also, to a degree, public speaking, which I did a lot in 4-H and continued on in college, and also art and dance. And I carried through in these areas diligently for many, many years. That appreciation for critical thinking, communication, history, and what makes the world work is the foundation that lets me do my job today. It's what allows me to make a critical argument when I'm persuading a customer about the benefits of our technology. It's what lets me write a justification for any business case. It's what lets me stand up and speak to you in this forum. Those courses, and again, that interdisciplinary approach, in my view, is utterly fundamental to education and preparation to do things like what all of you here are aspiring to do. So I'll conclude here with just a few principles, and I chose pictures of 3 people who represent these for me in my life. My mom, Deanna, my dad, Charles, in character, and Irina, my husband's late mother, who passed away in May. And I just want to tell you a few things, principles from these people that I have incorporated into my life that I hope help you. In the area of mind, 2 fundamentals, mastery and creativity. Mastery, how many thousand hours does it take to become expert at a field? There is no substitute. Creativity, boldness to try new things. And from the very beginning of kindergarten through the first 4-H projects up through math competitions and everything else, creating a new business, my parents, and now my husband, advocate for both things. The second thing I want to talk about is antenna for opportunity. That is an opportunity cost. Knowing when an opportunity is staring you in the face, and knowing when a choice you make has a cost and what that cost is. Absolutely fundamental. Physical fitness and health. The most important thing for your mind is your body. And I feel that this goes unappreciated for women because women have complicated biochemistry, and staying healthy, fit, and young is fundamental to being able to achieve your goals. Character, courage, having the guts to try. Along with that, stamina and work ethic, and I won't go into a lot of detail about that, but the one most important thing that has allowed me to be successful is those 2 in combination. An utter drive and an unwillingness to give up, which I'm sure many of you share. Leadership and judgment, and I think the important point there that women possess in great quality is lack of ego. Leading for a goal and being able to surround yourself with people, obviously, who are better, more talented, and complementary to you are, and viewing leadership as service to the people you lead. And last is heart. And people often ask me why I continue to do what I do, right? I do it because I love it, and I think the issue or the message about grit is that grit is natural when you love what you do. And I'll wrap it up by saying the last and most important principle, I believe, is gratitude, thankfulness. Gratitude for opportunity. And I know that all of you share that with me, or you wouldn't be here celebrating this. I am so grateful that we live in a time where there aren't boundaries, and I'm so grateful that all of you value technology and innovation enough to be here today. So thank you very much.